What's up, guys? Before I say anything about tomorrow's game, tomorrow's huge Monday Night Football tilt against the 49ers, I want to give a shout out to the Seattle Sounders FC for taking care of business today and getting the win and locking up their second ever championship, the MLS Cup. I just finished watching the game upstairs. Actually, I had it recorded and I wanted to be able to watch it, at 2x speed. So that's how I watch soccer, guys. Sorry, I don't really like soccer. I don't like watching it. It's just something I can't really get into. It's something that I can't really appreciate. But I wanted to support the team because they rep this area well. They've won 2 titles now in the last 3 years. They've been to another championship game in between those 2 titles. Just a really good way to represent the area. 3-1 over Toronto. I know they were heavy favorites this time. The first 2 times they were not. They were decidedly underdogs. But yeah, good effort by the guys. I will always stand by any Seattle area team that wants to rep well, even if I don't care for the sport. I'm never going to really be a Sounders fan. I'm never really going to start watching soccer regularly. I will watch championship games if the Sounders are in them because why not? But even if I don't appreciate the sport, I do want to give those guys a shout out for taking care of business today. All right, we got some business to take care of for the next 10 to 15 minutes of this video. We got the game of the year tomorrow, quite simply. Not only is it the game of the year for this team, this is the game of the year for maybe the entire league in terms of how good these two teams are. Like, you might have said that the Ravens and Patriots was the game of the year. This game might be about as significant. It's a big deal. These two teams are a combined, 15-2. The 49ers obviously undefeated coming into this game. Seahawks 7-2. These are two of the best teams in the conference. And, the 49ers kind of provide a blueprint to what I hope that the Seahawks can do this year because, I'm kind of on record saying that even though the Seahawks are 7-2 and they've beaten teams like the Rams, which was a huge win for them to get, even though they've shown toughness in close games, they've been resilient in the face of adversity. I've been on record saying I don't know how good this team really is. I don't know if they're a great team. I don't know if they're as good as their 7-2 record says, but you can get better is the thing. Like, teams can go from okay to great over the course of a season. Teams can go from good to elite over the course of a season. We see it all the time. And if this Seahawks team ends up being one of those teams that can go from a good team to an elite team by the end of the year, at least we're building on a 7-2 record. We're not building on a 5-4 record, because at 5-4 we'd probably be saying, oh, well, too little, too late. We're stuck in this wild card spot where we're hoping actually we get a wild card, and if we get in, we're going to be playing playoff games on the road. Who cares? But the fact that we have managed to find a way to 7-2, despite not being a great team by any stretch of the imaginations, imagination, means that we can actually build on the record in a way that really means something. We don't have to play for a wild card spot. We are still in contention for this division. And the 49ers, to tie it in, that's kind of what the 49ers were at the start of this season. The 49ers didn't start this season great. They were not playing great football. They, had a knockdown, drag-it-out fight against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They won that game at the end. They needed 5 turnovers to barely beat the Steelers. They didn't look like a great team at the start of the season. They looked like a average team that was finding a way to tough wins, but they got better. And, you watch them blow out the Browns on Monday Night Football. You watch them handily beat the Rams, I think, in Los Angeles. And you watch them, they've gotten a lot better. And because they were able to eke out those close wins early in the season, instead of having to build on, maybe a 4-2 team or a 4-3 team, they're building on a team that started undefeated. So if there are any Seahawks fans out there who are still wondering, like, what is all this for? What is this 7-2 record for? if we're not going to actually start playing good football. Just look at the 49ers. They're an example of how a team can get better. And because they started out the season eking out close wins, they're in a position to maybe make a run at a 14-win, 15-win season. So yeah, that's one thing I want to say about this game before we even get to the actual game. Now, this is a must-win for the Seahawks if you have any hopes of winning this division. If we lose, we will be 3 games out with 6 games to play. We have to play the Panthers, who are a pretty good team. We have to play the Vikings. We have to play the Rams again. We have to play the Cardinals, who are playing tough. It's too much to ask for this team to overcome a 3-game deficit with 6 games left when we have to play tough teams. I know the 49ers do as well. 49ers have to play the Packers. They have to play the Ravens. They have to play the Saints, although, the Saints didn't look so good today. But if you have any hopes of winning this division and getting home playoff games this year, we have to win this game. So let's get that out of the way. Good news. I spent this whole week terrified of this injury report because the stuff we were hearing out of practice this week was ugly. Dwayne Brown didn't practice the first 2 days. Joey Hunt was limited in practice all week. Clowney barely practiced this week. Josh Gordon was limited in practice. Mike Upati was limited in practice all week. Quentin Jefferson was limited to start the week. It was just like, oh my God, what are we going to do? It was ugly. The things I was seeing on Friday when I was looking at the reports of like, no Dwayne Brown, maybe no Joey Hunt, maybe no Clowney, maybe no this, maybe no that. It was just like, let's just punt on this game, man. Let's just punt and move on to the next week because we have nobody who can even snap the ball. We have nobody who can rush the passer. And it was just like, it was bad. It was dark. But we have come out of Saturday's practice, and the only two guys who are even questionable tomorrow are Lano Hill, who I don't think is any good anyway and is clearly a backup, and Phil Haynes is questionable. And let me say this about Phil Haynes. I don't know how much he matters for this year's Seahawks team, but keep an eye on that dude going forward. A lot of people love that dude. He might be the future at one of the guard spots because we are looking at 2 veteran guards right now who we might be moving on from this offseason. Philip Haynes might be the dude. Don't rule it out. So anyway, those 2, I can totally live without those 2 guys if they are not active tomorrow. In fact, I think there's a very good chance they could be inactive tomorrow, even healthy, because Dwayne Brown's ready to go, Joey Hunt's ready to go, Clowney's ready to go, Gordon is ready to go, Upati, Diggs is ready to go, ready to make his Seahawks debut, Hugh Jeff is ready to go, KJ Wright, he's been battling little knee issues all year, and he's going to continue to battle them, but he's ready to go. It is clean, guys. We could not be coming into this game in a better position health-wise, so if there's ever an opportunity for the Seahawks team to be the best version of themselves, it is tomorrow. On the other hand, the San Francisco 49ers got some very bad news yesterday. Kittle, probably not going to play. George Kittle might be their best player. He is a dominant tight end. He did not practice all week, unlikely to play. Robbie Gould, unlikely to play. I don't know how much that hurts them because Robbie Gould has sucked this year, but that might be an issue with their long snapper more than it is him. However, it's not fun having to scramble for a kicker at the last minute, and it looks like they don't have Robbie Gould. Both of their starting tackles, questionable. They were limited in practice all week. I'm sure they're going to play. We'll see how good they are. And Witherspoon, cornerback, very limited in practice this week, questionable to play. So we are catching the 49ers at a point in their season where they might be at their weakest. Missing their star tight end, missing their kicker, who he could matter. I mean, it's tough to kick in that 49ers stadium, right? The turf is all messed up. They got that shitty field, and it can be tough to kick on that field. Ooh, if the Steelers could come through for us here, that'd be big. What the fuck? Oh my God, dude. Motherfucker. Can't count on the Steelers for nothing. Anyway. Yeah, we are catching the 49ers at a good point. And if we cannot beat them tomorrow, then it's tough for me to believe we could beat them at any point because, look, their defense, it's going to be tough. Our offensive line is going to be hard pressed to handle this 49ers pass rush starring D Ford and Bosa. They got a great pass rush. It's going to be tough to deal with. We're going to be leaning heavily on Wilson to make guys miss because we know that nobody on that offensive line right now is reliable. Not even Dwayne Brown. And I think Dwayne Brown's playing through injuries. It's not all his fault, but he's not reliable right now. And the other four guys, they have their moments where they look fine, but they are not reliable. And all of them are battling injuries as well. Fluker with the shoulder. Upati might, what does he have? He might have a shoulder as well. Joey Hunt now. You can't rely on any of those guys. So if we can find a way to get Wilson time in the pocket, be it moving him around in the pocket, via moving the pocket, via, just playing well on the offensive line, via him just making some people miss, we can test that 49er secondary, which I think can be tested if you can get your quarterback a little bit of time. Sherman's having a good season, obviously, but we've seen it when he was on the Seahawks. He struggles with the T.Y. Hilton types. So if we can get Tyler Lockett on Richard Sherman, maybe we can make some good things happen for us. And look, we have the opportunity to move people around on our offense and get good matchups with our receivers. We know Sherman likes to stay on that right side of the defense. He likes to be the right side cornerback. So we can move DK around, we can move Tyler around and get them good matchups. And if we have to sacrifice Richard, David Moore to the Richard Sherman machine, then so be it. And, Josh Gordon, I'm not, like I said, I'm not expecting a ton from Josh Gordon this year at all. But physically, he can win that matchup against Sherman. He's one of the receivers out there who can physically match up with a Richard Sherman. So if it ends up being that, I think we can win those matchups. I think we can win with Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf moving around, maybe playing on the left side and getting positive matchups against their lesser cornerbacks. I think it's going to be tough sledding running the ball against this 49ers team. So I'm putting a lot on this running game tomorrow. I'm putting a lot on this passing game tomorrow. I'm not going to put a lot on the running game. I think it's going to be very tough for us to get a productive running game going tomorrow against this 49ers front. So I know the Cardinals ran the ball on them, but the Cardinals' running game looks very different from our running game. They use a lot of scheming. They use a lot of misdirection. We don't do that stuff very much. So I don't know. I'm putting a lot of it on Wilson like we do every week. I don't feel good about it. I wish we had the kind of team that could not force him to be perfect in every game, but it's what happens. It's what happens. Defensively, we are catching a huge break if George Kittle does not play tomorrow. It is a huge break because this defense is not well equipped to cover tight ends. Our linebackers cannot cover, and we have a defensive coordinator who just is not adjusting to it. I remember back in 2013, we played the Saints, and we put Richard Sherman on Jimmy Graham, and Sherman basically followed Jimmy Graham around the whole game. And Jimmy Graham did nothing because we knew that our linebackers couldn't match up with that dude. No linebacker can. So we just decided, hey, we're going to put our number one cover guy against their number one receiver, even if he's a tight end. We don't do that anymore. So if they put George Kittle out there, then I expect that we would just be tossing Bobby Wagner and KJ Wright at him and going, hey, guys, you guys got to do your job today. You guys got to find a way to cover this guy. Even though I know you're never going to win that battle, we're going to tell you to do it anyway. And if you can't do it, then we're just going to get burned a lot. But no Kittle. Now you take the teeth out of that 49ers passing game because, Emmanuel Sanders is good. Obviously, he's a good receiver. And, Shaq is going to have his hands full. But Debo has had a very up and down rookie year. Dante Pettis has not been the guy that I thought he was going to be coming into this season. They just do not have a high-powered passing attack that way, and their receivers cannot really threaten our secondary the way that Tampa Bay and Atlanta did. Tampa Bay and Atlanta have two elite receivers in Mike Evans, Julio Jones. They also got great stuff with Chris Godwin and Calvin Ridley. Those are teams that are just loaded with outside talent. The 49ers don't have that. And if they don't have Kittle, they really don't have that. So suddenly it seems like maybe our secondary can match up. So I'm going to look for our run defense, which has been mostly really good this season, to pass this challenge because we know that the 49ers run game is very good. We know that it wins using scheme. We know that they win using, a high level offensive mind coordinator, offensive coach in Kyle Shanahan. So can this run defense, which has excelled against teams that are not placing as high of a focus on running the ball, can they win in a game like this against a team that we know is going to run the ball? That is one thing that I'm really interested to see because when we played the Ravens, they ran all over us. But the Ravens' run attack is different from every other team in the league except maybe Arizona. So I kind of get that. But if our run defense, which has been really good through most of the season, can win against the 49ers run game, then I'll start believing they're for real. And even with all that, I said it last week, I'll say it again, run defense doesn't count for much if you can't get off the field on third down. And that means you have to be able to stop the pass. That means you have to be able to get off the field on 3rd and 8 when you know that the other team is going to drop back to pass it. And I think our secondary can match up well with these pass catchers. If George Kittle cannot go, like I said, it's a huge break for us, and we need to utilize that. But we say it every week. Where's the pass rush? Where is the pass rush? And we got everybody out there, guys. Clowney's out there, and he's been with the team for a couple months now. Q Jeff is back, and he was a big loss for us, clearly. Anza, I'm kind of over the Anza thing. I think he's just washed up, and there's nothing else to it. But he's out there. And we are running out of time to figure out this pass rush because if we cannot figure out this pass rush, then cancel it. I don't believe this team is going to be able to win a Super Bowl if they can never put pressure on the opposing quarterback. So we're running out of time to figure that shit out. But tomorrow would be a good start. We're playing an offensive line that has some injuries up front. We're playing an offensive line that is probably going to trot some guys out at less than 100%. I think this is Staley's first game back. McGlinchey, I think he's been out a couple weeks. This would be his first game back. I could be wrong. I don't follow the 49ers that closely, but we have an opportunity to put some pressure on Jimmy Garoppolo because he has shown this year in almost every game he makes one or two bad throws that are just taking points off the board for his team, putting points on the board for the other team. Kind of like I said about Jameis Winston. Other than the Arizona game, Garoppolo has been making those mistakes in every game. And the 49ers have been able to overcome those mistakes and win every game despite that because the rest of their team is playing at that high of a level. But if we can force Garoppolo to make those one or two mistakes, this week we have to catch them. Last week, we didn't. Winston threw us that ball in the end zone on 3rd and 11. We pick it off. We're taking 3 to 7 points off the board for Tampa Bay. We're going the other way with the ball. I think that game is over in regulation comfortably. But we couldn't make the play. Tampa gets their touchdown, and we ended up having to squeak it out in overtime and won because we won the coin toss, to be perfectly honest with you. So this was a long video, but this is a huge game, and I got to say what I need to say about this one. There are so many different things about this game. I was feeling bad about this game all week, but when the final injury report came out and I saw about George Kittle, I saw about Robbie Gould, I saw about their offensive line, and I saw about all of our guys looking like they're just ready to go, I suddenly felt like this could happen. This could happen. And, on that front, I really hope we can get out of Levi Stadium without any more injuries. We know how that field can fuck things up a little bit, but hopefully we can get out of there clean, win or lose, because the stretch of games coming up after this Niners game is brutal. All right. 20 minutes, Seahawks 49ers. I'm excited. I'll go live tonight. I will stream tonight during the Sunday night football game. See you guys there. Go Hawks.